Welcome to Sounds from Lothal, where the Loth cats eat well and the Loth wolves run free. I'm Julian.
I'm Giraffe.
Hey, there she is. And we are back with our dear friend Josh Gilliland from the Legal Geeks. And we are going right into our continuing conversation into episode 2 of The Acolyte, which is titled Revenge Justice. If you haven't listened to our first episode talking about the first episode of The Acolyte, I'll listen to that. Josh had some great analysis on the Star Wars legal system and other just good thoughts on that first episode. We're going to go right into this conversation. So we end with the stranger on the rocks, right? And we go
The drama queen.
the drama queen into episode 2. And we start with May again. And this time she's just straight up breaking into a Jedi temple, which is ballsy, and I kind of love that energy. Yeah, and ready to kill her next target, Master Torben. But this doesn't go to plan, as Torben is in deep meditation, or also known as the Barash vow. All of May's attempts are blocked by the Force, and yeah, she has to feel pretty like not good about this situation. What do we think about the way that episode 2 opened?
Lots of crimes. So yeah, breaking and entering with the intent of committing a felony.
The poor
That's
kid.
bad.
The poor
It's-
kid. Can we speak about the kid?
The kid's an
Oh yes,
accessory.
yes. And we have a blog post about that as well that Stephen Tolifield did. So check that out with using the child as an accomplice, and then the interrogation of the child happened later. So I think that makes the child an accessory. It depends on what the state law would be on whether or not that minor would be treated as an adult. Some states, since the intent is to commit murder, I could see some states might want to charge the child as an adult. I see other states wouldn't, and they would argue it was just breaking and entering. The child didn't know that a murder was going to be attempted. I don't think you get a conspiracy. If anything, the conspiracy is to break in. It's not to commit murder. So, or it's a form of solicitation and getting the child to knock on the door in order to gain access.
Well, the problem also is that the Jedi like rough hand her and they like take her by like the back of her
Scruff
Oh,
her
dress
that's
back.
and like
right.
throw
Yeah.
her up. And I was like, it's a kid. She's obviously also doing it for food and money, which was clear that like they're in a place where, people are struggling and like it's like the church. Just give the money to the people around you. Like stop rough handling the kids. What are you doing?
Again,
Like, what are you
very
doing?
very off-brand for the Jedi, the way they treat her, you know?
I don't
You
know.
think that, you think the Jedi would be doing like food distribution and
Yeah.
making sure that people were fed?
But
Isn't
I
that
was
non-interference with the sorry, Dreff. Isn't that non-interference like what Qui-Gon says in Phantom Menace on Naboo? It's like I can help you get off the planet, but like I can't get involved in the politics of it all. Like,
how feeding
But if you
people
have
is politics. Like,
well,
please.
right, I know.
Yeah, but they have a bloody temple. So it's like, here's our temple where we're going to act elite and not help you. Seems weird. Because again, churches feed people.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
or it's like the church I go to, we voted to put ADUs, tiny homes in the and across part of the parking lot for so those who are unhoused can have places to live, so they're not living underneath bridges. So you think Jedi being a religion that's about helping others would do that, as opposed to let's let everyone be poor and miserable.
And also, like, it's kind of I my problem with Star Wars is like all the planets you see are all or super rich and like super fancy, like Naboo, or like Coruscant, or like deep poverty mining place with people like eating on the floor and like you're like there's no middle ground, and that's why I'm interested in Skeleton Crew because I feel it's suburbia and I'm like finally Star Wars middle class, let's go. but it's always kind of sordid everywhere. Sordid, is that a word? Like,
Yeah, sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
sure, why not? Like everywhere they go, and I'm like, oh, yet again, a backwater planet where everybody's miserable, and including the Jedi Temple is so. It's interesting to see like a poor Jedi Temple ish. Does that make sense? Like I was interested in this. I was like, what is going on in there? Like, what's that place?
No, it's a great point too, because even like, the one Jedi who's part of it is a little bit like rugged, and this is not a knock on weight. Like I'm a big dude, but like the Jedi that rough handles the girl too is a very big guy, and like you're talking about the Jedi Order where it's like fitness and like lightsaber training and practicing your stuff like all on, like these are some Jedi who've maybe let themselves go a little bit because like they're on some backwater water planet, like Olega this
I
was called, right? Like maybe they're not getting support from Coruscant. Like it's very interesting.
I think it gives you also for me, it was giving you an idea that so far we've seen only like Coruscant Jedi, and that it's way more complex and way more layered, and that a little bit when I don't know, people like I know people from my mother's age or grandmother's age that went into the order because it was a way to be fed and to be educated and to be taken care of, or because they lost their parents and they were orphans and they became nuns and so on. So I was like, for me, it was like, oh, it gives for me, it gave a layer to the
Yeah.
Jedi Order, not just being like these beautiful people in
Right.
beautiful
Yeah. No.
garbs in the
100%.
beautiful temple, but that it's more complex and that people actually would come to the Jedi, maybe like all their education was not necessarily in the Jedi Temple, and making me question also the fact that they would take kids. So then what, they took these kids and they let them there, and like what's going on? I feel this, it opens the door to more story to be told, and to a system that is, every system is complex, nothing is ever simple, there's always
Yeah.
exceptions to rules, and there's always like bending the rules. So I'm interested in that Jedi Temple there.
Yeah, what's the purpose of the temple? Because there would have to be outreach, or it's acting like a police precinct.
Right.
Like,
So that's
yeah,
actually that's one thing I have learned from my very little reading of the High Republic book I have, is that the Jedi back then, there was a lot of outreach. It was outreach. Not all Jedi were trained on Coruscant. Actually, the show on Disney Plus, Young Jedi Adventures, shows Jedi that are trained on a different planet. So there were temples on a lot of different planets, and some Jedi complained about how far they were from Coruscant. Some liked being far away, but it was definitely more of a precinct outreach situation.
and I gotta say, Jedi Young Adventures is super adorable.
I love it.
So
Love it.
so cute. So well
Speaking of
done.
my trip to Disneyland, they had a full-on furry blue Nubs hoodie for my kid, and then the hood is Nubs. I bought it for him.
Sure,
It's epic. Yeah.
you did
Sorry.
good.
Thanks.
So
The great Deep Bradley Baker also.
Yes.
Yes.
oh, that's him doing Nubs,
Yep.
Nubs and Murph.
Nubs and Murph.
Yep.
Oh, incredible. I feel like every time I don't know like something is cute and like purry, it's always him.
Yep.
He's also the Bad Batch in all the clones. So like the man has
Oh yeah, that's true.
great range.
Yep.
And just sounds so nice in interviews. But that's not important right now. What is that Jedi temple and trying to break into it.
Yeah.
So going back to the twin theory and the twin plot line, they bring Osha to that temple, and Yord is still not convinced. He wants to restrain her. He thinks that she could be working with May, that she could be lying. I mean, is Yord the only one kind of like considering alternate possibilities of the story that Soul is saying? Soul wants to believe in this, but like, is Yord being the good Jedi here?
No, I think he's being obtuse, because the fact that he brought a witness to do a police lineup in her cabin,
Oh
that's
yeah, that's
bad.
real.
Yeah, it's
That's
like
her. She murdered her.
Yeah, that's not how lineups work.
No, that was
That's
super messed up.
yeah, it's like so you brought the guy who nearly got murdered, and because like you could show with evidence she was on the ship, even if she was alone, like there's no record of her leaving the ship. There would be travel information to show her getting from point A to point B. They skip all of that and go right to she's guilty. Now, there's a difference between like having someone in a form of protective custody versus you're on a ride along with us now. So again, there's some fuzziness taking place here, but I appreciate the fact Saul is like she's not the murderer. She's not the one who did this. She has a really good alibi. She was someplace else. Now let's go find the evil twin that committed the act instead.
One thing that I respect about Yord later, I'm moving ahead a little bit just to make my point, is that he is fair, right? Like, he does want to do everything by the book. He does want to do everything by the code, but he is also, after Master Torben is killed by May, Yord is the first person to come to Osha's defense and be like, no, it wasn't her. I was watching her the whole time. It couldn't have been her. And I respect, even though Yord's like very cold and stiff, at least he's fair. So I did appreciate that. So yeah, we get to see him. We know who he is. You've seen the show. That's why we're doing these reviews. Spoilers. We see the stranger in the first episode, but then we see him unmasked. We don't know, if you're watching the series for the first time, you don't know that it's actually him, but we do get his intro being this very like twitchy, like shady, almost handler for May. What did we think about his intro in this, the shop that I assume he killed the guy and took over his shop, and his interactions with May during this?
So it's an apothecary,
Yep.
which, nice way of saying pharmacy. We have murder, you have false impersonation, because I'll play the pharmacist now. And just carry on this little business, public. Well, he might be hungover, which is a bold choice if you're the lead bad guy. Granted, he could be faking it,
I think he
but
was 100% faking it.
yeah, it's so like when we were watching this, as a group, the reaction was like, oh, he's probably the stranger. But we
Oh,
were also
you
holding
knew
out.
right away?
Oh yeah, I was just like Palpatine hid in plain sight. It's like they're probably doing it again, and but I was holding out hope that it wasn't him. It was like going like this is too obvious, because if they do the same thing again, that means it's just a Sith trope that the Sith are always doing with hiding in plain sight, and that's kind of a bummer, because there's like just I was hoping for something else. I was actually hoping it was the birth mother, was the stranger, because how does Kamir have the knowledge of what happened to all the witches? So I was thinking like if it's the birth mother, that's creative, and because we haven't seen a Sith float in before. But again, that's the future. But I was hoping it wasn't him, but we were all thinking it could be him pretty early on.
I
That's it. I love the actor. Like interviews with him, dude's cool. So
I mean, big fan of the Good Place here. So
Yeah.
love him. I also thought that the Sith was going to be one of the birth mother, especially the one who is like a night sister from that Dathomir.
Oh, a Zabrak. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Zebrak. Like, especially her, I was like, that would have been cool. That's what I was thinking too. Him, I knew he was gonna be more important than just the apothecary,
Apothecary.
Apothecary. Yep. Yep.
apothecary guy. I can say that in my native language, not in English, but apothecary guy. Because I read something that he had like a big role in that show, so I knew he was gonna be more important. Um, but yeah, I didn't clock him as the stranger until the next episode, I think. For this one, I was like, yeah, sure, give her the thing. But the way is so sleazy. I mean, I'm old enough to remember having uh dealers for pot in France, and it was giving that vibe 1000%. Where like the guy is nice to you because you're giving money, but also don't trust that guy. It's not good.
Well, it's when OSHA goes undercover, like was the tell for
Mhm.
my watch party with his reaction with like, you look just like her. The way he said that,
Oh,
like that was,
100%, right?
yeah, that was the tell of it's him. Uh, he's the bad guy. Uh, but I was really hoping it was, another option that wasn't
Yeah.
obvious.
I didn't quite know yet, right? But I definitely got suspicious at the same time. It was definitely when when they went to what Kelbaka, is it Kelbaka or Kelnaka's
Tanaka.
planet, and he starts being very like he knows way too much for just being, this shady slimy
Yeah.
guy. So, but yeah, the way he was like, you look just like her. It was very cold, very calculated response. Yeah.
He's very good at triggering women's alarm in
Yeah,
their head.
yeah,
Like
right.
he has a way of saying things like being claiming where you're like, that guy is like triggering something in me that like is like there's something off. There's something off. He's such a great actor. It was so good to see him in like a different role. Speaking of weird relationships, because definitely Maze and Quaimir relationship is weird. Let's be
Yeah.
honest. We learn more about Saul and Osha and how she left the order and what happened and so on, and the attachment that Saul has to all his Padawan apparently. What Vernostra says. What vibe did you pick up from this relationship? Like I know for me, it was also weird vibes. I didn't like that vibe at all. Um, but yeah,
I sensed the only thing I had was immediate regret and guilt. So like I didn't someone who made a giant mistake and had been living with that giant mistake. I didn't that was the only I didn't sense anything weird other than that we're going to get more to the story about why he's a tortured soul.
I think for
Yeah.
me it was like just like this very deep attachment he has to her, and I'm like, is it? So I see it as a teacher. It's also the thing, and I for me he's he's her teacher, right? He taught her, and like that deep connection and like that he has like closeness for me is a red flag. Like yeah, it's a bit too much. It's a bit too close. It's a bit too much. Like I want to be your parent, and that's the thing. You are not
Well,
your student's parent.
that's so right with Soul, right? Because Soul was desperate at the point where the events happened in episode 7. Like he was so desperate for a Padawan, right? And I think he makes a very unhealthy connection when he sees Osha for the very first time, and it becomes not gross
Not
love, but
creepy, not
not
gross.
creep
No, yeah,
no,
but
but
too
it
much. Yeah.
becomes love.
Mhm.
It does become parenting instead of a master and Padawan situation. And I actually think that's a lot of why Osha probably left the order as well. It was too personal, and I don't think that he trained her the way that she needed to be trained. And Jackie even notices it in the first episode. Why do you carry a hollow around of your old Padawan? Like
Yep.
that's attachment. That's Jedi rule number 1. Get out. No attachments. And it's very, very telling. And especially the way I apologize, I don't remember the actor's name,
I mean,
but he acts it so well.
you 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 train kids too. I don't know if you want to cut like you're in scouts, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a
Yeah.
skipper. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
in working with youth, in my experience, like you're creating a safe environment for them. You want them to succeed. You invest time to help them, but you are not the parent. Like,
Exactly.
a lot of kids in scouting some of the best scouts come from broken homes where they want to have a positive role model because they are lacking either a maternal figure or a father figure in their life, and they want to have that validation and someone to be a good mentor, because scouting is about being a good mentor to youth. And Soul goes further than that. On the flip side, this is the exact opposite thing from Obi-Wan and Anakin, because Anakin really needed Qui-Gon to be the father figure that he needed, and Qui-Gon dies and isn't able to be that father figure. So it's an interesting juxtaposition that Soul needed to stay in his lane, and again, they needed to just let the witches be witches, and and hey,
Can
that's
I
them. Yeah.
can we sidebar real quick because it brings up a very interesting
Again?
conversation. Yep, again. No, because I really do think it brings up an interesting conversation, and to be honest, I don't know when it's eventually going to happen. I don't know when we're going to get around to doing an episode on episode 1, talking about Qui-Gon being a father figure to Anakin. Do we think that Qui-Gon would have been a better master
Yes.
for Anakin? Well, the reason I ask is because much like Dooku, Qui-Gon had his issues with the Order and especially the Council, and I wonder if Anakin and the special training he maybe needed, being older and having previous connections, if Qui-Gon would have been the right master for him instead of Obi-Wan. I'm curious what you guys think about that.
According to Dave Filoni, yes. So Anakin, grew up a slave, had trauma. Obi-Wan would do his best, but like this was not. I mean, Obi-Wan did his best, and granted, we do get into some bad writing, and that's written by a dude, as opposed to get feedback from your friends. But I think Qui-Gon would have been the role model and father figure that Anakin needed to have had balance in his life.
Yeah, I agree.
And he would not have, like, his path might have been like, hey, I'm going to leave the Order and get married.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
that's
could see that.
I
Yeah.
think Qui-Gon would have given Anakin the flexibility to understand that there are other choices, when Obi-Wan was not able to do that because he was so sold to the Jedi Order,
Yeah.
that a bit like like very believing, and because it was good to him. But Qui-Gon would have these like opening of, there are other possibilities for you. Like,
yeah,
there are other ways
but
to do things.
in the animated series, I think it makes it clear that Obi-Wan knew
Oh yeah.
that Anakin and Padme were
Oh,
married, because
100%.
Oh, he knew.
and
Yeah.
he's just turning a blind eye to it, as opposed to, hey, let's actually talk about
Yeah.
this. Because we do find out that with Duchess Satine, Kenobi had a relationship and a love,
Mhm.
and was willing to leave the Order for her if things had turned out differently. So I think Kenobi would have been understanding and would have been a good mentor if either of them had been willing to talk about it.
Right.
And I think that's where Qui-Gon were both needed Qui-Gon in order to understand it's okay to be a sensitive male and talk about your feelings,
Yeah.
as opposed to bottle them up and we'll just have a secret marriage and hope everything is okay.
But I do love how this does connect back to the fall of the Jedi and the Acolyte and kind of the very early beginnings of that, because there's a book that takes place a little bit before episode 3 that features Anakin, and he's working with another general instead of Obi-Wan on a campaign, and he gets to know that Jedi very well, and that Jedi reveals to him that he is also married and has a secret family. So I think this is like, at this point in the Jedi Order, but during episode 3, like, the Jedi were just turning a blind eye to a lot of this stuff. Like, I'm pretty sure the book implied that
Again, like the
yeah,
church.
yeah, like
Like,
Yoda, I think it's implied that Yoda knew about this Jedi having a family as well, and turned a blind eye. So and yeah. So I
But
do
it's
like
all
how
the
it all
question,
connects.
and I think that's why I always see the Jedi more like a church or a religion than like
Yes.
cops, because you know we see that in Catholic Church also, where a lot of priests are actually married and are hiding, and you know, and the refusal of like updating, changing, and evolving makes for situations that are very difficult for people, then they make worse decisions. And it's the same thing about being a mentor or being a teacher. Everybody is not made to be a teacher or a mentor. Like it comes with training. It comes also for love for what you do and respect for the mentees or the advisees or the children you have in your care. And I think it's the same thing, is that when I see younger teachers who are becoming way too close, I'm always like trying to, you know, it's hard to be close while not being the while not being the parents. And you may disagree with the parents, and you may, you know, thinking that things would be better for children in like a different way, but these are not your kids. And it's this flexibility of like understanding and caring for others, which I feel the Jedi were just like assigning people with duties. And I'm not certain that Saul, even if he was a great teacher, I'm not certain he was a great mentor.
Right.
And that's where, you know, discussing how people get to do these things or how somebody becomes a master is a very good question. Like, everybody should not be a master, everybody should not be a mentor. Like,
Yeah.
it's hard.
Well, that it goes to the larger issue that the Jedi needed a reformation.
Yeah.
And, you know, again, I'm a Lutheran. You know, we did the kickoff for the Protestant Reformation.
Mhm.
And so like young Luther is very different than old Luther. So there's some unpleasantness in old Luther that was bad. Uh, but you know, reformed a church, and you have all these offsets that allow pastors to marry
Yeah.
and have a family. And you know, the Catholics don't do that. That's their thing. We can now take communion together, and that only took 500 years. So, you know, cool. But like that needed to happen with the Jedi, so you don't have secret marriages and you don't have unbalanced individuals.
Mhm.
Because that's, you know, this idea of no attachment, that's not realistic.
It's not
Oh,
whatsoever.
the
And
senator
this,
tells them
thank you. I was
that.
about to say the same
Yeah.
exact thing. Yeah.
The senator says that you cannot keep saying that you are totally okay putting a ban on your emotion when everybody has them, and that's fair. That's totally true. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's grossly irresponsible.
Yeah.
Just to
Yeah.
go like,
Absolutely.
100%.
don't worry, we'll be fine. I don't
Bottle
have a
that
problem.
up.
um so from Jedi reform to there's not a great segue here, going to murder a Jedi master.
Well, speaking of somebody else that had master fail him,
yeah,
Corbin.
Torben, 100%. Great. See, this is why you should do all the segues. May brings the poison that Chimere made for her to Master Torben, who wakes up, and this is actually one of the moments in the show that really does shock me. Takes it willingly, right? Says, "I'm so sorry. We thought we were doing the right thing," and then kills himself. Um, from the way he acted, he just seems very, very remorseful. I want to get your initial reactions to this, and I didn't put it in the outline, and I do think it's a good question. Is this murder, Josh?
Yes. Yes, so
Murder,
it's a
yes.
felony. So California Penal Code Section 401, any person who deliberately aids, advises, or encourages another to commit suicide is guilty of a felony. Georgia Code annotated section 16-5-5, any person with actual knowledge that a person intends to commit suicide who knowingly and willfully assists such person in the commission of such person's suicide shall be guilty of a felony, and upon conviction thereof shall be punished by imprisonment for not less than 1 or more than 10 years. And subsection A, assist means the act of physically helping or physically providing the means. So, you know, Hawaii could find it to be manslaughter, but it's a felony. Now, some of you might go like, well, that's not technically murder. You push them over the edge to kill themselves. And, you know, Khmer and May had a conspiracy for that end to bump off Tobin with poison. So there's, yeah, it's a felony.
Yeah. Also, like Torben didn't want to kill himself. Like it's not like euthanasia, you know? It's not like he's not being assisted to die because he wants to die. He's being, yeah, pushed over the edge by the person, by the way, that was there when everything happened, and is a trigger of like his depression and remorse and PTSD and everything you want. Like, for me, that was more shocking that Indira's murder. Like, way more
100%.
shocking. Because it really deepened the idea that, oh, this is going to be a different Star Wars. Also, I was like, wait, something terrible happened, and it's not gonna be like, oh, there's an imbalance in the force. No, somebody fucked up, and somebody fucked up majorly.
Yeah.
And they covered everything, and that's at this moment where I was like, what happened that guy is like, I'm sorry, and just kills himself.
I,
Yeah.
I started thinking it was a My Lai level massacre, that of something of that horror, and then living with it afterwards. And because there were, hopefully people know about the national sin that happened at My Lai, of of American troops slaughtering a village,
Mhm.
and the I was just following orders defense. There were heroes that day. There was one soldier who went, "This is wrong," threw down his gun and walked away. And there was a helicopter crew that went, "This is wrong," and they landed and put the chopper between villagers and the U.S. forces, and they aimed their weapons at the U.S. forces.
Am I
And
am I making this up? Was there a movie made about this with Bruce Willis, or am I thinking of a different
I
military
think you're
film?
thinking of a different movie.
I
But
read
kind
the
of the
But
same
account from like
idea.
one of the guys there, yeah, and
Yeah.
like actually recently. That's interesting you're speaking about this now.
yeah, so I mean,
But yeah.
William Calley was the one that was convicted and then pardoned by Nixon.
Mm.
But there was Medina, there was a variety of people who claimed the order was to go out and kill everyone. And I started thinking there's something comparable, that they have something so horrible that you have people who are supposed to be the good guys, and they make a colossal error, and one of them is so riddled by guilt he decides to take his own life. And that highlights all kinds of problems with the Jedi in not accepting responsibility for the error.
Not
That
talking about
resu-
things.
yeah, yeah. We're not gonna work out our feelings here. We're not gonna accept that a crime took place. That when granted, I can come back to talk about why I think both sides made giant errors in judgment that caused the situation to escalate out of control. So I have sympathy for how all of this goes horribly wrong,
Yeah.
but they needed to address and find atonement for everything that happened, and they failed to do that. And that's why Tobin ends up taking his own life. And that's a failure of their system.
Yeah.
And again, Torben was just a Padawan.
Yeah, exactly.
He
And
was just a kid. Like
and
going back to child soldiers and stuff in Star Wars, you know?
and I do have to say that's where I have to disagree with you a little bit, Giraffe. Like I think that Torben maybe at that moment did want to die. I think that's part of why he took the Barash vow, is to escape what Mother Anastasia did to him. Any form of being able to escape that. And the minute that he's kind of awoken from that meditation and sees someone that he failed so deeply and so badly and had his mind messed up so badly, I think at that very moment, whether he was coerced, because he was, it was like May says, that peace that he was looking for.
No, no, I mean, sure, he wanted to die, but it's also wrong that he
Oh,
dies. He should
100%.
have
No,
been helped. He
100%.
should have been supported. He should have been,
100%.
like
Yeah.
maybe cured from whatever they did to him. But
No,
like,
he shouldn't have been.
yeah.
He shouldn't have been stuck in a temple, in a 10-year meditation. Like that's the Jedi literally locking the problem away.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So we see all the Jedi gathering and talking how to take down Quimir and get into this apothecary, right? And there is a lot of weird like decisions going on. You just want to go guns blazing, but Jackie decides to put this surveillance in place and lie and like try to trick him into confessing while Osha is wearing a mic, I suppose, a
A
device,
wire.
a
Yeah,
wire.
She's wearing a wire.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and meanwhile,
Yeah.
these guys are on the other side of the like road and just like looking at them like this. Like, what are you? So none of this is legal, right?
No, I think it is because it's, having confidential informants is nothing new. Like it's like taking down the mob is something that the FBI does. So having someone going in wearing a wire to get a confession, like that's okay. Like, you can get into issues of entrapment. That's it takes many forms, but like it depends what the vice squad's doing, and this isn't like pushing a good person into a drug deal or something weird like that. This is someone who they suspect is a murderer. They probably have enough to get a probable cause to get a warrant if they wanted to go in and do a full-on search that way. But going into having a confidential informant go in undercover, I think is okay in this situation. Now, of course, the judge might disagree, but I think
Well,
from a
also
law
Osha is
enforcement,
not trained. She's not a Jedi. She's just like a kid, a bystander that they basically wire up and send to a
she
guy
but
that is actually super dangerous.
she did have 10 years of training.
I
Yeah,
do.
true.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, so granted, that 10 years of training probably was not as a confidential informant, but she did have 10 years of training running around with Soul. And then she's been on her own for 6 years. So I don't, she's not like an invalid being put into a dangerous situation. It's still a dangerous situation, but this is not someone who doesn't know how to defend herself. She might be rusty with the Force, but on principle, I don't think it's a wrong idea. It might be a bad idea, but I don't think it's a legally wrong
Yeah.
idea.
That's the only reason. I mean, I actually did think that Jackie's idea was better than Yord's. And I do like the kind of cute look on Yord's face of like being mildly dissatisfied that Soul disagreed with him. But the reason I think this ultimately, I mean, they do get the confession, but I mean, Osha is just not May, right? She's just not
Yeah.
like, she really did not pull it off well. Like it was, I think that, Chimere probably suspected the minute that she walked in.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I don't think that Chimere was also worried, right? Like he's a Sith. He knows how to get out of the situation and he does it very well. So, yeah.
And he was very, very believable. And like that guy was like, "Oh, it's not my fault." No, don't hurt me. And the whole conversation, by the way, with Yord is so funny when he's like pretending like, do you know where he is? I was like, he came with you. That sent me. It was so funny. And that's where I think I started suspecting that guy is way too smart
Yeah,
to just
100%,
be
right?
like here doing drugs. Um but so we continue with Asha trying to confront May, and so for the first time kind of cracks. We see him being angry, being troubled by what's going on, and by Osha's wanting that revenge and trying to like get to her sister. I mean, she straight up tried to shoot her, which I did not expect
But
personally.
but she misses. So
I think she misses on purpose. We're going to talk about that later, but
I
I think she missed on purpose.
Did everybody picked up on the same thing that like it's the first time we kind of see uh like Saul being troubled and being,
I
you know.
think it's both of them, right? Like
But
Soul
I'm
is
not surprised by Osha being troubled. I'm
no,
surprised by Saul being troubled.
I Soul, I mean, like I said, like you pick up on it from, and we just talked about this, like, you know, he just has way too much of an attachment here. So yeah, like this is definitely another sign of it. But I also think it's like Osha is pissed, right? Like she is showing very early signs of that darkness that we later see her fully give herself into in the finale, and the way that she reacts to Soul not letting her be the one to go confront May. So I think it's both of them. Like Soul has this like father Papa Bear, I just want to protect you. You're not ready. You're you know, and Osha's like, no, fuck that. Like she's the reason that everything burned, and she like the reason I almost died. Like I'm gonna go get her. I want to kill her. Um,
That's 10
so
years of training for you.
10 years of Jedi training.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, that's also why, Adara wanted her to leave, and thinking that, like, granted, goes to the mental health issue of like, you guys did a bang up job of helping her recover from the trauma of everyone that she loved dying. Good job. Just button that up and hope nothing bad happens. So there's
100%.
yeah. So again, there are problems here because they didn't treat her trauma in a meaningful way, and which creates a volatile situation when she's able to confront someone that she thought was dead, that was the cause of the fire that killed everybody she loved.
For me, it was also the first time where I was like, there's something broken in Soul. It is something is part of like Torben killed himself. Indara was shocked by seeing May. And we still don't know what's Soul's
Yeah.
implication in what happened, but we know it was something big. And I think it's the first time where I saw that that guy could. I thought he was the one that was going to turn Sith, to be honest. At that moment, I was like, that guy has a problem. That guy has something
I
in
never
him
thought of that. Yeah.
that is like too attached, too controlling, too like the fact that he's like really trying to and keep May Osha near him, but at the same time like stopping her from talking. Yeah, there was something, and the battle that he has with May also. I was like, there's some when he paralyze her, for
He
example.
toys with her a lot during the
I
fight.
don't know that he toys with her, but like he definitely tried to not hurt her, but at the same time, we see him like totally paralyzing her and putting her on the floor. And I was like, there's something, I don't know. That was my first sign where I thought he was going to be the one turning to the dark side, to be honest, at that moment.
Okay. That's
No.
I
No, I think
I
it's a
didn't
great theory. Yeah.
suspect that, but I thought his behavior was atypical of a Jedi.
Yeah.
The yeah.
I mean, it was also a super cool fight, to be honest. I found it very, very cool.
Oh, and yes, and also when Jackie comes in with the ship, the
I
way that she
love that.
describes you're under arrest,
Is that the
that would
Miranda
comply
right
with
or something like this?
but that would comply with the Fourth Amendment,
Yeah.
that you're under arrest for X. It's like, and it's in the name of the Galactic Republic or the Galactic Senate. She has the line that's straight out of Revenge of the Sith. But she, again, that would comply with the Fourth Amendment.
Yeah. I mean, from a straight up like just choreography point of view and just like the way this was filmed, their fight was awesome. I loved the camera movements. Listen, I'm such a Jackie stan. When she does come with the ship and she does that, and she's also, dude, she's a great fighter. She's sarcastic and she's a pilot. Like, what is not to love about Jackie?
She's dead now.
Fuck
Yeah, well,
you.
yeah.
It's so mean. Three-hole punch. Oh man, no, I really liked the fight. I liked how this whole the basically how this whole like 15 minutes, last 15 minutes of the episode was filmed.
Yeah, it's also why I had a lot of high hopes at the end of this episode, because it's like, this is really great. It's like, when it was over, it's like, I am happy. Like, I got to hang out with friends and watch Star Wars, and the buffalo wings were involved. Like,
Ooh,
Hey.
that sounds like a great night.
10,
it
10.
was fantastic. It's like, like one time we did pizza and buffalo wings, another time we did Chinese. It was everything you could ever want, man. It was beautiful.
Oh my god.
It won't ever get older, won't ever die. But that's Cocoon. Uh, but
Yeah, it was a great fight. It was great.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, so now we talk about May trying to shoot Osha trying to shoot May. You think she missed on purpose,
Oh,
Julian?
Yeah.
she literally, when she has the gun, she gives May a quick look, and then you see her arm flinch just a little bit before she pulls to aim away from her. And then she does. And she also, if you see the way they shoot the next thing, the gun is not aimed near May at all. So she's basically putting on a show for Soul at that point, because she, even though she's furious and she does have that anger, she doesn't have the oomph to kill her own sister. Like, she wants that
Well,
connection
it's
back.
stunning. She's not gonna kill her.
Okay, no, true, stunning, but there's a part of her, I think, that just wants her to get away in that moment. It's like, I think, like a chemical reaction. It's like fight or flight, right? That's my sister. Whatever she's done, she needs to get away, and I think it was totally purposeful.
It's very hard for someone to shoot a sibling or parent or grandparent. Like, that's atypical. Like, it's why Han doesn't shoot first with Kylo Ren. Like, if your kid's a war criminal, I would say shoot first. Like, there's like, you're on a bridge with no handrails. This is going to end badly. I don't know if you're going to talk Junior down here. But it's very hard to do that. It's very hard for someone to make that decision, even if it is just stun.
I think that I would stun my brother.
Some might have zero
Even I
problem.
know and it's not gonna kill him. I would definitely stun my brother.
I'm trying to think if there's anyone in my family that I would stun, and
It's my sibling. No.
Yeah, but this
I don't know.
For 16 years she thought her sister was dead.
True.
Actually, both of them thought the other was dead, and which is why I think May abandons a conspiracy, by the next episode, when we're on the forest planet to go see Kanaka. Or is it, again,
No,
there are so many.
Yeah. No, Kelnaka.
I didn't think she missed it on
Kelnaka.
purpose. I thought she missed because we see her being bad at this like several times. We see her not being able to use the force on the ship. We see her like for me it was also like, and it was reinforced with like the back like the backstory when we see her like not being able to dodge, not being able to I was just like, she's bad at this. She's bad at this. But yeah.
But a great mechanic.
Great mechanic.
Great mechanics.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah, she's bad at shooting, which fair. It's okay.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, she could have been a stormtrooper.
So the episode you were speaking about it, where the episode ends with Quimir telling May where to find Master Kalnaka on that forest planet, and we see Master Kalnaka, fighting off some scoundrel trying to take over his house,
hut house, whatever,
ship, something. So were you excited? I know I was excited about that moment.
I mean, not for a Wookiee bachelor pad, but for a Wookiee in action, because it's like, it's like, whoa, dude, you've let yourself go. Like, well, on the flip side, it's kind of that return to nature, doing a Rousseau type move, or excuse me, Montesquieu. No, it is Rousseau, not Montesquieu. My bad. But I was excited, and we'll save that for another time.
I
mean,
Fair.
I was just mad at where the episode ended.
Well, right.
I-
It's such a cliffhanger, right?
I accept that. Like that doesn't bother me
Yeah.
because I thought it was a nice homage to George Lucas's love of the old 1930s serials. That, whether it was a Flash Gordon serial, like if you've ever watched any of those old ones, they're fun. But they end on that cliffhanger. And I thought like this is a nice homage to 1930s entertainment that ends on the cliffhanger. So you want to come back next week and see what happens next. And I
Yeah,
thought
but
that
next
was
week we didn't get it. You know
That's
what
a
I mean?
good point because
That's my
we
problem.
go to to the flashback. Yeah,
Yeah.
I literally
Anyway.
I no, I literally at the end of this episode said, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
Same.
I was like 38 minutes and then that? Like, come on, guys.
Yeah, the
Come
episodes were very
on.
short. That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
why am I the one who's like okay with this? Like, is it generational or
Did you watch them like week by week, or did you watch them all in one sitting?
week by week?
Week
And
by week.
I
Okay.
and I'm happy with it's like I remember Infinity War and the friend I took, she was very distressed. Uh and she's like, that's the end, and like was horrified. I was like, it's like I've read comics
Well,
most of my life.
I
Like
feel like
this is
yeah, I feel like Infinity War. I don't know where I was reading it the other day, but people were talking about how they just didn't expect the Avengers to lose at the end of the movie. I'm like, guys, it's a 2-part movie. Of course,
Yeah.
the Avengers are going to lose
Oh
in
yeah,
part 1.
1000%.
Like,
Yeah.
I wasn't mad at the end. I was in a mood and I was sad and I was like, oh, they did that really well. And also, I'm having a lot of feelings right now. But I'm like, this is part 1. The finale is part 2. Like, come on.
I think I was not mad. I just thought, I know that when the 2 episodes ended, I was like, no, where's the next one? What is like it?
I did
really
want to
wanted
binge
me.
this show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but my reaction to it was like, this is well done because I care. I can't
Yeah.
wait. And
True.
I like this feeling. So, but again, I'm okay with that.
No,
Uh
I do think that introducing a new character like this, especially a Wookiee, especially a High Republic Wookiee, and then not giving us that the next episode was, I'm sorry, kind of a dick move.
Well,
okay,
they
it
do
was
get
a
Kalnaka in the
Kalnaka.
yeah.
it was a horrible tease. Okay, I will concede that. But we see him in the flashback too, in his Wookiees.
Yeah,
And
but we don't see him fight the stranger. See what I mean?
Yeah,
No,
he
but-
kind of he goes out like a chump.
yeah, but you do get the last episode where you see him with the lightsaber,
It's very
and
true.
or second to last episode where you see him with the lightsaber.
Mm.
And again, I appreciate the fact that you might have felt teased, that you needed to have closure, needed more. I
Giving me
respect your feelings.
therapy now.
Yeah, I know but we can work through this. It's going to be okay.
You're
The
gonna be
sun still comes.
okay. It's fine.
It's,
Star Wars cannot hurt you.
no, it's supposed to lift you up. We'll get to see, we'll get to see more Wookiee action. It's
I
okay.
hope so. I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, was it Gunji? Who was the Padawan from the Clone Wars?
It
and
was
Bad Batch?
Gunji. And we also had Chewbacca's cousin Lobaka in the New
In-
Jedi
oh,
Order books.
In Solo. So we had a
and so-
bunch of
oh
Wookiee
Wookiees
fights.
and so yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Yep. And in Jedi Fallen Order. You go to
True.
Kashyyyk.
And the holiday special, you can see 5
Well,
minutes
he's
of
everywhere. Oh man.
We're
Just
gonna
having a
end on the holiday
conversation.
special. Let's
We're
go.
ended on the holiday special.
Good job, Josh.
Oh my
I love you
God.
guys. Glad to help and to share my experiences, to know that more great things await. It's like I remember the holiday special. I've been through the dark times. We're in a golden age.
I'll make a confession. I've yet to bring myself to watch the holiday special. I've never watched it. Maybe we'll have to do a pod on the holiday special, Giraffe.
Sure.
Sure, why not?
Why not?
I saw
It's
it when I was
terrifying.
4.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
The fact, when I found out that what I thought was just like imagined in my mind was actually memory. You know, I did have the like scream at the rain, no moment of
Oh my god.
Oh,
Amazing.
that's
wait,
terrifying.
That is terrifying.
These Star Wars can hurt you.
Yeah.
just just the holiday special. So all right.
Draft,
Thank you.
you do our ending.
Okay,
You
so
do
that's
the
the end
thing.
of our episode. Josh, thank you for joining us for 2 episodes. Please plug away. Where can we find you?
You can find us at thelegalgeeks.com. Social media handles are at the Legal Geeks, which is Threads, X, uh, Facebook,
Twitter.
YouTube, and TikTok. I enjoy playing on TikTok. Need to find a little bit more time. Work's been a little busy, but I do enjoy a creative outlet. And if all goes well, we'll have fun Halloween content in October. Also in October, you can see us at San Diego Comic Fest. We'll have a panel on Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, and Marvel's 85th anniversary. More to follow on that, but again, I get to talk about all the things I love with some really good friends.
I highly recommend the Legal Geeks TikTok for all the legal question you never thought you had in your head about your favorite franchises. And thank you. We know you're busy. Thank you for spending 2 episodes with us. I can't wait for your panels, and I can't wait to find a good reason to invite you again. Thank you.
Again, love you both. It's so nice to spend time with you.
You as well, man.
You want to say I don't know the out.
You want me to do the out? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, no, an absolute pleasure. That is going to do it. Join us for our next one, where we will be reviewing episode 3, Destiny, one of 2 big flashback episodes. Draft and I need to talk if we're going to maybe combine episodes 3 and 7, because I kind of feel like we should. That'll be an internal conversation. Also, we are still playing Star Wars Outlaws. Check our socials for when we're streaming it, when we're doing a review of it. That's it for Josh, for Giraffe. This has been Sounds of Lothal, and remember, you too, like a Loth Wolf, can run free. Good night.